Okay, we will start about the next part. Now let's say the configuration. I guess this technology are not so complex. It's easy for us to understand and also to do the configuration. Of course, if you want to deploy this feature, you have to use a physical device and then use a physical cable to connect with each other. For example, now we use the special device of 7003, and we have the 1 and 3. This should be 6. Okay, this is a 3. And about the 3, we only use one line cable to connect with each other, right? And we use lots of maybe is optical cable and also some electrical cable. And about the left one, this 2 link we will use to become the VCL to connect with each other. And the other link suggest the link different interface, the number should be same. It's better for us if maybe in the future we have some problem to do the troubleshooting. And of course, if your access list switch number will be different. You also can do the connection based on your real requirement. So this is the first step. You have to use a device and use a cable to connect with each other. In the first line, this is some interface and the different button. And this is a management interface. But use this interface, you only can provide the web configuration, not about like the Regi Enterprise device uses RGOS. This is a web page to do the configuration. Then about the configuration, you have to know ensure the VCS reliability. We suggest to provide multiple VCL into an AP. And about this AP, not about the access point. This is the aggregate point. And at least 2 VCL. Otherwise, if only one VCL and this link is broken, you will find 2 active switch. And there some problem will be happen in your network. And pay attention about this step. It's very, very important. You have to know. Before the VCS is created, and maybe you connect multiple VCL in order to get the higher reliability, right? And maybe there is a loop. So if you directly to install your VCS device, maybe 7006, then in your live network, and then you will use the cable to connect with each other, there is a loop. Pay attention. So we suggest you finish the configuration of the VCS, then connect your hardware into your live network. So this one is very important. Because if you use 2 links directed to connect with 2 switch, there is a loop. So pay attention about this part. And then let's see how to do the configuration. And we divide to become different parts. We can do the configuration through the single device, one by one to do the configuration VCS and then to connect with each other. Or maybe you can directly to connect with each other, and after the feature of the SON, you can do the configuration of the double devices. Both of them can support, and the configuration page will be a little different. And the third part is the checking. If you finish the VCS, what's the key parameters we can check? And the last one is after the VCS successfully, what's the parameters you can modify in your network and what's the different result. So these are 4 parts of the configuration. And the first one is, because this is a RE switch, so if you use a cable to connect with each other, then immediately they will find how many devices in our network use the SON feature. And this is a basic one. We don't do any configuration on the devices, and you use the cable to connect with the management interface and open the web page. You will find this SON feature. And now we have 2 NBS switch in our network. And what's a MAC address and what's the sequence number, something like this. And pay attention about the SON 3.0, we already support the faker IP address. So although maybe we don't get any IP address, but we still can use the SON feature. If you want to know the detail of SON, you can join our ISE RE course. Then next step, you can do the configuration. And the first part is you can do the VCS one by one device. And here, after you open the web configuration page, and the VCS located on the switch advanced feature, and select the Smart Hot Standby. This is a name. Someone maybe say, I cannot find the VCS because in the official name we call it Smart Hot Standby. It's the same name, okay? And then you will find here is a warning. You can configure this feature because in our network, we have the switch can support this feature. Then you can start the setup. And here some highlights and some suggestions to you, some explanation. And about the next page, if you want to do the configuration, the basic one is the hardware and the physical link to connect with each other. And the parameters we need to change only 3, right? The domain ID, we cannot change the domain ID because every device already has the special domain ID. The second one is a switch ID. The third one is a priority. The last one is a VCL. That's all. So the configuration is very easy. So on the standard single device, if you start to do the configuration, here you have to select the single device cable diagram because now we only have one device. And you have one PC, you will use 1 gigabit interface to connect with your management interface. Then you can go to the next step. And about the next step, pay attention. Here is the NBS switch, and you can set the device ID to become device 1 or maybe to become device 2, because now we only support 2 switch ID. This device ID is the same meaning of the switch ID, 1 or maybe 2. You cannot use the other value. And also about the priority. If you choose the device 1, the default priority is 150. If you use the click device 2, the priority will become 100. Of course, you can use this button to change the priority. For example, I click the device 1, and then I want to make the priority to become 50. It's okay. It also can work. So these are 2 parameters. Select your switch ID. Device priority switch ID default is 150, and another one is 100. So according to the priority, we will let the device 1 to become the active. And the priority you also can change. After we set the device priority, the next step is you have to set the VCL, right? And about the VCL limitation, you have to select 2 adjacent 10 gigabit ports. So this is a limitation. We have the bandwidth limitation. And which interface can support? You will find different interface will have different color. Like this board, this line card, the first 24 interface, we only can support 1 gigabit. That's why the color will be unavailable, right? So this is a limitation. And another 2 interface is are 10 gigabit. So the color is available. So it's very easy. You don't need to consider that I will choose the wrong interface. Of course, maybe you use a cable to connect with the wrong interface, but you cannot finish the configuration about the VCL if your bandwidth is not meet our requirement about the 10 gigabit. So select available interface, suggest more than 2 interface. If you only select one interface to become VCL, it also can work. If you support to select multiple, for example, 2 or maybe some special LAN card, we can support 4 interface. If you select them and click Save, this interface will be added into the aggregate group automatically. You don't need to create aggregate port again and add them into the group. No need. Only select them to become the VCL. They will become in the aggregate interface automatically. Then if you click Save, there is a tips, right? We will restore and restart this switch. So pay attention about this one and click OK. Then one single device is the configuration is ready, and you can configuration about the other device. So this is a single device. And another one is you also can configure double devices together. For example, here you already use a VCL to connect with each other, right? And your topology also will show you what's the interface type. We can support 10 gigabit. And there are 2 switches, and you have one PC already connect with your web management interface. And here you also can select to do this configuration together, or maybe one by one, 2 type. Because if you only have one device, that I introduced in the last page, so you cannot see this option. But here you can select 2 types. For example, now I select dual device configuration. Then next step, this device you already connect with the switch, and another one you use the SON to find the switch. So there are special button of the local. And the next step is you also have to select the priority, the device value, something like this. And here you can directly change the priority. For example, about the device 1, I want to make the priority to become 150. This one will be active. And another one is about the second switch. You select the priority to become 100, and this one will become standby. Sorry, I have to mute everyone first. And here you will find if we set the priority to become 100, and the device will become the standby. Of course, if you change the priority, for example, here, you directly change the priority to become 200, and this button will immediately change to become active. So this is very easy to set the priority. And the next step, you have to select the VCL. For example, here we use this line card, and there are 4950 and 4950 can support the VCL. And if you select the interface, the color also will be blue. Okay, so this is the configuration. Of course, for example, about the device 2, if you use another board, another line card, maybe only support 24 gigabit interface and 2 10 gigabit interface, they also can connect with each other to become VCL. After you click Save, there also is a tips. If you save the configuration, the devices will restore and restart. The next step, If you think ready, you can click OK. If you click, and there also is a warning, will show you now it's rebooting and what's the interface they connect with each other and what's the devices, something like this. And maybe you have to wait for 3 to 5 minutes and until the switch is rebooted to active the configuration again. Because maybe not only restarts the device, you have to get the configuration, you have to negotiate the parameters, everything is ready, then the switch can work. So these are very easy to do the configuration on the single device and the double device. About the configuration part, do you have any question? Do you have any question about this part? Oh, yes. The 5-1 also need to be same.
Miss, may I note
Yes.
about and double device for VCS Basic Configuration? Did you need domain ID?
No, single one and double one, all of them no need to do the domain ID because the 7 and 6, 7 and 3, the domain ID already in the software. You cannot change.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's why 6 and 7, 7,006 cannot do the VCS with 7,003 together because the domain ID is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, may I note about our iOpine NPS 5200 device I have. It needs I want to make about link aggregation VCS. It's about VCS.
Now only 7,000 series can support this feature. In the future, if more devices can support the feature, we also will do some update to you, maybe through the Regia website or maybe Regia Cloud app to let you know this. But only stop today, 7,000 series switch can support.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
So it's clear to everyone now? If yes, we will continue next part. After you finish the VCS and already reboot the device successfully, right? And then you can check some configuration. The first one is on the local page. You can check the smart monitoring here. You can find the device 1 and the device 2, right? And here you can directly click. Now is click the device 1. You will know how many line cards are successfully and what's the fan speed, something like this. And also you can click device 2 to check this information. And if you want to check the port number, you can directly down to see the detail. For example, about the device 1, how many line cards are already located in your network, and what's the interface connect with the cable, and maybe the rest of them are not work, right? So something like this. You can directly check on your VCS on the local page, click device 1 and device 2. So this is a check of the configuration. Of course, if you want to do some special other feature like the VLAN, maybe like some routing information, these are located in other features. So I'm not explain today. Today I will only focus on the VCS. And another one is if you finish the VCS configuration successfully, then you want to modify some VCS, we can see the detail, what's the parameters you can do. And about the modify, you can finish on the local page. And of course, you can do some operation on your Regia Cloud. And on the cloud, you also can set some parameters. And finally, the cloud will synchronize the configuration on your active device, and active will synchronize the configuration on your standby device. Then they will do the negotiate or maybe calculate again, something like this. So about this part, we only see the local configuration. The first is you can view and modify the configuration on the hot standby. Now these two devices already form the VCS successfully. Then you can change the priority or maybe change the device ID. And also you can add more VCL or maybe delete some VCL. So there are some parameters we can change: the switch ID, priority, and some special for the VCL. For example, here about the line slot 2, we can support lots of 10 gigabit interface, 8 to 10 gigabit interface. Maybe first time we only select the first interface to become VCL. Now you want to add more, you also can click here to select. And another feature is very important about the DAD, dual active detection. And this function is used to detect the health status of the VCS number in real time. But we will use some special packets. What means detect? Detect all the protocol detect means I send some message to you. If you can give me a reply, I think you are working. If not, I think maybe you are broken, and we will do the next step. For example, if I am standby, I will become active. So this one is some action. And how to detect the status? The first tool is a VCL. If the VCL link is broken, all the links are broken. I think maybe my peer is not working. I will become a new active. And another tool is we will special to enable the DAD function. And about the DAD, we will select some special interface. And this interface cannot be the VCL. For example, I will use some normal 1 gigabit interface to connect with another switch. And on this link, we will send out some DAD packets in real time. For example, 10 seconds or maybe 1 second, I will send you 3 packets. If you cannot give me a reply, I will think you are not working. So this is a function of the DAD. Here you can do it. And another action is accept the active. Once the active switch is broken, then the standby will become a new active. This is automatic. If I detect the active is down, I will immediately to become a new active. And another scenario is you also can manually perform the active and standby switch over. For example, I think the second switch, according to the feature, maybe the switch 1 will become active, switch 2 to become standby. But I think switch 2 gets a lot of line cards more than the switch 1. I hope that switch 2 can become the active switch. Then you can set the switch priority as higher. Then you have to manually to switch over the active and standby function. And in the new election, the switch 2 will become active. So pay attention about this function. Because we say according to the priority, higher priority switch will become the active switch, right? If we already select who is active, then you change another switch to become a higher priority. The new switch still will become the standby until they select the active and standby again. So in this scenario, if you change another device to become higher priority, you must manually switch over this function. So this is the scenario when you will use this function. And this one located on the also on the VCS and active and standby switch over. Then you can click the switch. This is a function. Okay, and here are the basic function you can do after you finish from the VCS and what's the parameters you can change.